yeah, her role as being a woman in that time, because she makes a really an example as being a woman and teaching people and healing, and I can imagine that she must yeah, stand her man, let's say, stand her woman to be able to do what she did at that time, because I think, I mean, she's not taking seriously, or easily not seriously. Of course, she had people who trusted her and followed her, but I think it wasn't easy for her.
Hmm. Well, the first thing that I want to say about that, they weren't teaching the masses, they were teaching those who understood, and those who understood and were ready. She was accepted by them. She was seen by them. I also notice in what she's saying that she wasn't really doing the divine feminine. She was just going for divine creation, for having that inner divine feminine and divine masculine harmony. She was about the unique aspect and the wholeness. She was about completion. So I know that throughout these centuries, yes, she's divine feminine because there is a lot said about her feminine role, but that's patriarchism. That's what we made of it. That was never her intentions. It has never been the divine feminine aspect that she wanted to make clear. She was always about wholeness. It is because the earth was in a very patriarchal distortion and still for a great deal is that we kind of we were triggered by her as a woman, and we put that divine feminine imprint on her, but that was not that was not her intent. She just wanted to do her work, and I honestly feel that she couldn't care less if she was seen by others, by the masses or not. I feel, and that is what she's showing me. She lived in seclusion. She lived in her in her circles. She was appreciated and seen in her circles. She didn't have the need to go beyond that. Um, she wasn't looking for recognition. She was very hands-on. Seeing her working with her hands, she was very hands-on. She did the work. She wasn't a, these days we have the healers, the public speakers. She wasn't a public speaker. She was she was more the person that went in depth, the person that could you reunite the human and cosmos, the person that could find in your human body all the imprints of all stars and cosmos, and could reset the harmonic resonance in your body that could make you feel the music of the spheres again, because she knew how to work with the stars. She knew how to reunite cosmology and healing.
But is there a reason why she incarnated as a female? What was the advantage for her to decide, yeah, I will incarnate as a female? Is the receptive parts an advantage?
Mhm. There was an advantage, or maybe there she had a specific intent. First, she's a feminine soul. That is her main energy signature. Second, as a feminine soul, of course, you can incarnate in a male body. Now, why didn't she? Um, she did light fusion. She worked with divine sound. She worked with harmonic resonance. She worked with her hands. She brought down the energies and she infused them into the bodies. Being the bridge between cosmos and human, it means that you work from wholeness. So I think the full alignment of being a feminine soul and being in a feminine body just magnified the intent that she had. I'm just double checking what is the relationship, because I want to be sure of what I'm saying. What is the relationship of being a feminine soul in a feminine body, or a feminine soul with the mission that she had in a masculine body? The energy behind being a feminine soul and a feminine body is the energy of the lotus, is the ever opening movement, the ever opening dynamic. The feminine soul and the masculine body is more a fixed form, and it's really more about infusion. So that is, it's not a contradiction, I cannot say that, but it is two different energy imprints in a way. um and is it so that, so the feminine soul and the feminine body, did she do that to really be able to have that deep impact? Yes, yes. And I do feel that Isis kind of did the same thing. We can maybe go into Isis at another moment, but I find that interesting. Um, yeah, I find this very interesting to know. So in
Does
any case,
giving,
that would be a response to your question.
yeah, and does would giving birth be a part of that? Did she have children?
Yeah, she did have children.
Do you pass more from your, yeah, as as a, yeah, I don't know, every soul is a being on itself, but as a mom you give birth to your child. Is there a difference in, yeah, a father and a mother, like passing through, because it's growing in your body, it's having your imprints? So yeah, is there some aspect that was important for her to give to her children just because she had the birthing capacities as a female?
Um, there is a physical womb, of course, but there's also the divine womb. For instance, in my Venus light trajectories, when we go into divine creation, the men that are doing, the men that I guide also have a divine womb. So if it has to do with really creating, I don't think that it has such a huge impact, although being male and creating is always more light-based, while being feminine and creating is more into color essences, and that goes more into a lot of more intricacy and diversity. But your question is the physical act of birthing, if that had an influence on her. Is that your question?
Yeah, that was a reason more to yeah, to come to earth as a woman, to incarnate, because she would have children.
I don't think so. I am not getting any input on that other than life is to be shared, life is to be given. Mm. She also had male incarnations, and in those male incarnations, she had the same sentiment about sharing and giving. As being a male, she shared her love and her protection for the woman. She didn't have a lot of male incarnations. I can hardly see two. Um, but I can see that it is her energy, and it is for her an exploration to experience how is it to be male, how is it to be supportive, how the healthy male is the one that surrounds the feminine as the woman, and gives that woman the safety that she needs, the emotional safety, the physical safety, the energetic contours to go within and to start creating. And she liked that too. But as I said, she is more the hands-on. She wants to create. She's more the one that goes hands-on, that goes into the etheric tissue and creates. So she has a preference for feminine incarnations only for that
And
reason already.
how many were there? Because you said two male. Do you have an impression how many female incarnations she had? And was Maria Magdalene, as we know her, the first one of her incarnations on Earth?
Well, when you say how many incarnations did she have, the number that I'm getting is 1,000, but that is quite a lot. And I'm quite surprised to hear those numbers. Mary Magdalene was definitely not. It was actually one of the last. It's right at the end. So she had a whole trajectory before. She's showing me she had around 1,000 incarnations. What I'm seeing is that for instance, one incarnation, she is on Earth, but at the same time, I see many white light strings going into the higher realms, and I see essences of her there too. So she is very much connected. She is she is as light incarnated in a human body in her incarnations, but at the same time, she is present on different fractal levels in the higher realms, and um, those those connections really help her to be fully guided. And I honestly have never seen that before, that when you are in a human body, that you have your light strings, um, not in this way. I know that in a human body you have your light, and your light is, of course, it goes throughout the entire cosmos. But she very consciously, and I think that is the difference that I have never seen before and that I'm seeing right now, is that very consciously she is present in these higher realms. So she never really needed any guidance like most people in our times do. She had her essences there who guided her. So she was a fully sovereign being. That is what that says.
Okay, so she didn't need those incarnations to evolve to become the person that she was at that time.
Uh, that's a good question. I think in a way, yes, because she wanted to work. I always see her hands. She wanted to work with the prima mater of the earth. She wanted to clay with the etheric tissue. She wanted to modulate light. She was always working with light in the human body. She was very much working on always on these soul levels, and her incarnations and how she's showing it to me were more about um, discovering, or yeah, discovering the different modulations, the different ways of being, the different vibration that one can take while going, always going deeper into matter, into density, and staying widely connected to cosmos, to cosmology. She maybe interesting. She also had quite a lot of incarnations within the earth, quite a lot actually.
And what she was doing there.
Yeah, interesting question. What I'm seeing is that she was always very much aligned to the core of the earth, so she worked with the earth's light being, but she was also within the inner realms of the earth. For her, that was as if she was in cosmos. For her, the earth wasn't a confined space. It was as if she was within cosmos and she brought cosmos within the earth. And she did it in different capacities, in different bodies, in different beings, but um, also as a light. So the question that I am asking myself right now, or that I'm asking her, when she says 1,000 incarnations, does she mean really incarnated in flesh and blood, or does she mean, okay, with her light essence? Um, and then I would say a minority is a light essence. I would say 800, just rough, 800 incarnate, 200 in light. And then I ask myself, how can you be present in light? Because, it's so dense. Angels cannot. They infuse matter to be able to commune with us. But she was in light within the earth because the energy frequencies there are off light. And there it is possible for light beings to be in their light because it is strangely and paradoxally not so dense. It is light. So she was able to fully be there also in her full expansive essence, considering that even might be more expansive than the earth itself still. So living within the earth is so different. You cannot mentally understand the aspect of space, the aspect of time, the aspect of light density, those rules that are on the surface of the earth and in the etheric realms is different from how it is within the earth. These are different laws.
Yeah, because they say there is also life in the earth, like earth beings.
Yes, of
Um,
course. Yeah, yeah.
like, yeah, but she was not one of those.
She also was. She embodied different capacities, different beings. Um, yeah, she did incarnate into light beings within the earth, but they have a different density. It's not so dense as we humans. It's more etheric,
Um,
but still.
okay. The reptilians, they also exist in the earth, as I understood it. Is that correct? Species of the reptilians.
I don't think the reptilians exist in really those realms where she was. When I have seen reptilians in the earth, I don't know what you mean with reptilians, but it just makes me think of when there were these fires in Australia. I think it was around 2019 at the East Coast. Um, one of my friends, John, we were tuning into, why are these fires existing? And what we saw was that in the south of Australia, there was an entry, and then a portal. And in that portal, there was a lot of shadowy beings that that wanted that are in the tunnels of the earth. How shall I say? The earth is spherical, and in the upper layer of the inner earth you have tunnels, and in those tunnels what I have seen is there are, I call them hell snakes, and they actually move in this upper layer and they feed off the sacred places that we have on earth. They feed off the grid lines, they feed off um, the
Energy,
vital
actually.
energy of the earth. They suck the energy out of spaces like the temples of Egypt or the temples of South America. That is why so many people just experience them as touristic hotspots because they have been drained. But if you go into deeper levels of those temples, you can still tap into their original energetic blueprint. So, are there reptilians within the earth? Yes, there are. There is darkness. But I think the layers that I am talking about are so high frequent that those beings, they do not have access to those layers. And I also think that not all reptilians are shadow beings. I think I mentioned this in my book also, and one of my previous podcasts, that there are very, Gaia has an emerald heart as well, the energy signature. And there are many emerald beings that can have a reptilian nature, or but those beings are just fully of light.
Yeah, but that's maybe stuff for another episode because I
Yeah,
already have questions about it, and I think others too. So yeah, so Maria Magdalene, she had these many incarnations in the earth as also a very powerful light being. But what I heard you say, because that was the question actually, but you gave more information. How many human lives did she had? So it was like 800, you said? 800
apparently
human lives, and it was before being Maria Magdalene or
it was all
after?
before. Yeah,
All before, yeah. And did she had an incarnation that was similar as her yeah her task as Maria Magdalene, like a teacher, like an avatar on earth? Was she also a
she.
significant
Mm,
as an
uh,
yeah person as another incarnation? Yeah.
yeah, I see her very much attached to sacred places, to temples. I see her a lot in um, roles of priestess roles, hands-on healing roles, infusion roles. Yeah,
There's not a famous one like you say. Jeshua was the incarnation of Buddha that she embodied. A famous one that we know.
I don't know myself a lot of famous ones that I can think of right now.
Yeah, and it should be a woman because she had more female incarnations. So there's not a lot of
mm,
female famous teachers known.
I feel that she has had quite some important incarnations in Atlantis. Important in terms of impact, important in terms of being underground and trying to push the light to the surface again, a bit what they did um, around the times of the persecution of Jesus, etc. They also went underground. They hid the manuscripts. They hid important information. They shipped it throughout the world so that it wouldn't have been able to. It wouldn't be found in just one space. So what I'm seeing is that in Atlantis, she was deep underground, pushing the light to the surface. So this is also a metaphor for her trying to restore balance, trying to restore the clarity of what is the healthy interaction as a human being among other human beings and as a human being with cosmos. So she's very much about balance, and where there was imbalance, she was always a very powerful driving force to transmute that, to change that. Yeah,
So actually, her incarnation as Maria Magdalene, that's the most powerful one she had on Earth.
I'm not sure. I'm seeing her in very powerful incarnations in Atlantis too. Um, she was present in Lemuria too. Um, but it feels to me more convivial, which means more together with the rest. While in Atlantis, she was also taking a leading role in in infusing light into darkness. Um, and And I think that's something quite interesting, because whatever you're facing in life that is dark or that is shadowy, there is always a possibility of infusing it with light, and by doing so, deconstructing the molecules of shadow, of darkness. And that is what she does. To She renders the darkness, or the shadow, she renders it, she deconstructs it and renders it obsolete. So she's very progressive. But you know what's interesting in all that I find in this is that her energy from Atlantis until the year 0 went to light infusion and darkness. And what I am experiencing in my life, and working with the people that I work with, is when you continue to focus your energy in infusing light into shadow and in darkness, it requires a lot of energy. It also keeps you in a certain frequency. As soon as you stop doing that and you shift your focus away from that duality, then the true expansion starts. So in a way, I understand what she said in our previous podcast, that she had that quantum leap only 1,000 years after she crossed over, because she was in those 1,000 years afterwards also working with shadow aspects, with the etherical realms, updating them, harmonizing their frequencies, harmonizing the frequencies beyond. But as soon as there is no harmonizing necessary, then you go fast. So these are all the things that, one, I am experiencing in my life, two, that she's also confirming or showing me at this moment. So this means that whatever, whatever incarnation you have had or are still having on earth, the context of the earth is that there is duality. There still is. There is patriarchism. There still is. So if you, even as a light being, and you do light work, or you are a light, or you are a leader in light, you always work with those frequencies that are kind of confined within a certain frequency level. You don't go beyond. You are unable to make that quantum leap if you continue to do that. So I think in today's episode, this might be the most. I know people love to hear about Mary Magdalene, and I do too. But the thing is, what is important is what is she actually trying to tell us? It's not about her. It's not about me. It's not about individuals. It's about the message behind, right? And
Yeah,
that
and
is,
how do you
stop
do that?
fighting duality, stop infusing light in duality, just move beyond, because it's endless.
Hmm. And how do you do that? Is there something we can connect to her energy?
I think everyone has their own way to do that. There are many roads leading to Rome, or to your inner heart, or to the Garden of Eden. I did it in my own way. That was a legacy that my soul gave me, which is, of course, Venus Light Technology. But I'm sure there are other people who do that in their unique way. I think the one that is viewing this video right now should just feel what does she align with, what does he or she align with most, and what feels resonant.
Yeah, but this resonance can be, um, yeah, not so clear. The signal cannot so be so clear. So how do you clear up this signal to really know? Yeah,
Well, I think first they need to know what they want. um, Sometimes just feeling that you are in repetitive cycles, that things tend to come back, the same themes then to come back. If someone finds that okay, then there is no wish to go beyond into any quantum leap. However, if you feel that you are in a confined space, as I described, and there are ceilings, then that is the first step to to feel the soul calling of going beyond the human scope, the cosmic scope, to really go into divinity. And then, of course, it's just talking to the people who are carrying the codes that bridge you to those frequencies, talking to those people, someone like me or other people, to see with who they resonate. But the people who don't hear, and I know we have talked about this already, Caroline, that people don't hear what they're not ready to hear. They just auditively, auditively, I cannot imagine, but it's really true. Auditively, they cannot hear what you're saying, or they forget.
Mm-hmm.
And on a cognitive level, they cannot hear either. So there's really a blocking on hearing physically, cognitively, soulfully. So, and that is something that just has to awaken. That is that soul calling. I don't think that anyone in an episode like this could make a change in that. Someone just needs to wake up by getting that spark to wake up.
Mm-hmm. It's their divine timing that says,
I
it's your
guess.
time, wake up.
Yeah.
There's nothing actually you can really do. It will not go by, yeah, do more healing sessions, do more Reiki or whatever, meditation. Yeah, sometimes maybe meditation. Is that because you're connected? It can wake up something.
Mm,
What's actually the
yes.
best tool that you see that is available, except of course the light codes, the Venus light, but is a tool that everybody is has access to, costs no money, can do to, yeah, to awaken yourself or to speed up the process.
Hmm. Well, in our transmission about the cosmic Buddha, we talked about Buddhism. And I guess if I wouldn't feel so interwoven with light codes, if that wouldn't have been my second nature, then I would have probably went to Buddhist teachings. But I know that Buddhist teachings don't bring you where, for instance, these quantum leap teachings bring you, because I am guiding people who were years and years into Buddhist teaching. So that stream of consciousness is not yet aligned with the new light codes, with the new evolutionary flux. But that would be the first step that I personally evidently like. Yeah, because it's
Mm-hmm.
the most pure way, and you can do meditation in Buddhism streamings, and
Can you say
yeah.
it's the most pure way because Buddhism talks about a path to enlightenment? Because if you say that to somebody who's really religious into is into Christianity, they will say, oh no, because the best path is Christianity because it's the part of the heart and the compassion. So where's actually the difference? um
I
yeah,
think
I
the
just
core
said it
essence is the
already.
same.
Yeah,
I
the core
think the
essence is
core
the same,
I think the core
but they
essence is the same. I I'm not the best person to ask this because I do not know a lot about. I never went in depth into Buddhism. Some of my friends have, so my answer is going to be very intuitive. The core essence is the same, but what I feel is that Buddhism departs from wholeness, and it doesn't depart from the divine feminine, the divine masculine. It departs more from, the beingness, the existential, uh, the existential dropping of your existence on Earth, and it feels to me that's what I'm seeing, more interconnected with the wholeness of life. While maybe Christianity is about love, compassion, but it's very much individual based. The divine feminine, the divine masculine, and then you have all these interferences with the church and all these interpretations. People are busy with the interpretations while they should be, you know, going into those core essences. They're not. It's
Mm-hmm.
nice to be busy with those interpretations because it's kind of drama. People like drama. People like things that are special. They like secrets. They want to reveal secrets.
Yeah, unravel
You know,
the
when
the.
unravel, when when we post the videos on YouTube, I also need to adapt to that, to create a language that is more aligned to what triggers people to come and see. And I do it because I want them to see this. um, but it's not about the language. It is not about the divine feminine or masculine. It is about the core essence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe we can make another episodes around that to go more in depth, because I think it brings up a lot of questions. Because yeah, especially in Europe, many people, yeah, their base is Christianity. Um, I think it's hard to see beyond that.
Yeah, not only Europe, in the US as well. It's maybe even
Yeah,
more,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, actually, all over the world, what I'm saying.
even more
But yeah.
present, and in a very narrow-minded way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think those who know what I'm talking about, they will hear my words and the energy behind it. And those who don't, um, maybe
Yeah.
someday will.
Okay. And then just
Thank you.
another very light question. But just curious. Did Maria Magdalena had children? Because she was the partner of Jesus, Joshua. Did they have children? And did they have an important role?
Um, It is known that she had two children, Sarah and Joshua ben Joseph, a little son. I'm also seeing a third child, also a son. Did they have roles, important roles? I feel that Sarah took up that light leadership. Um, I also am seeing that she was very much interconnected to many, many, many institutions at those times, sharing information. I can then see the same driving force as I saw with Mary Magdalene in Atlantis, pushing Sarah, pushing the information, pushing through information, trying to from within breach all patterns and transmute and transform the old consciousness into new evolutionary consciousness, and being very much connected to monasteries. And that is what I'm seeing. The second child is also known. There are books written about that second child, and I can see that second child as well in my visuals. Um, I see more an internal life, and for the third child, um, I wonder if that third child had a long life, because I see it really going back to the inner earth. Not sure if that means he didn't have a long life, or if he was very much interconnected with the beings and going into those cosmic realms within the earth. And I'm going to leave that answer open for the moment. Yeah, there are sayings that Sarah would be the incarnation of Nostradamus, and Nostradamus is Notre Dame, Our Lady. What I'm just seeing that is that I see the half moon, that she has connections with many monasteries, many religious institutions where she's pushing her light in. So she is reforming what was at those times current Gnostic information, and she was pushing her light through that, a bit what Mary Magdalene did in Atlantis, but she was more fighting darkness, while in those times Sarah was having a reforming role. Yeah,
Yeah, but
and
that
then
was before the church was there. Like,
yes, that was before the official existence of the church as an institution. There were these Christian streams of consciousness, and she was working with those um, through those monasteries. Yeah, very interesting. And she was,
so so actually the because you said the Christian streams, the Christian streams are based on Jesus' teachings, Joshua's teachings, or was there already before something going on?
they were based on the teachings of Jesus, exactly. And I just want to go back to Sarah, because what I see that she's doing, she's actually giving input, and there's a lot of manuscripts written with the information that was modulated with her input. So I think, I don't know which manuscripts in those times. I never went into an analysis of it. I don't know which manuscripts in that year or in those years were written, but her energy imprint must be in it. And we're talking about spaces, just uh, monasteries in in Scotland, England, Ireland, France, um, even a little bit in Germany. Yeah.
And you can still visit those places. They're like highly energetic
Yeah,
places.
probably. I don't
Yeah.
know if those places, if they still exist. One can look that
Mm.
up. And energy
Yeah.
imprints are always there. Energy imprints are always present.
And do they help? Um, and do they help the Earth? Yeah, that's why there are these energetic places on Earth. Because you said like what you said about the pyramids and everything, that the upper layer is like, yeah, weakened, let's say. But if you go deeper, then you can still connect to them.
Indeed, it's, well, upper layer as in the overall energy has been drained, right? So there is a lot of retraction. When there is violence, and so when there is violence, and energy draining is, to me, violence, what happens is that the codes retract. And there's also a chapter in my book about we always have to go deep in those temples to get information, to get codes, because they're no longer available on these higher superficial planes where we are. So yeah, I guess if you go to those places and you tap into those layers, you will find them. But you don't always need to go to places. You can just feel it, because you carry the earth in your being, you carry history in your being, you are a cosmic being, so you don't necessarily need to go physically to those places. At least that is what I feel.
Oh, yeah, beautiful. All right, that was a whole lot of information. Is there anything that our beloved Maria Magdalene wants to share a last message for these episodes.
Mm. What I'm seeing is what Sarah wants to share. I'm feeling Mary Magdalene with her pushing through light, through shadow, but I'm feeling the energy of Sarah saying that it is very important to push the new consciousness into what is actually the current state of consciousness on earth and reforming that. And in a way, I think that is also what you are doing, Caroline. I think that is why you felt the shivers when we were talking about Sarah. I think the time that
Yeah,
we live in must be similar to the times where she lived in, and then there was a lot of reformation necessary.
when you were speaking
Yeah,
about
you said
Sarah.
that off
Yeah.
camera, of course, but that's what you felt. Um, so for those who are not hands-on like Mary Magdalene, but more like Sarah, who want to reform the current ways of thinking and the current ways of being, that is also a very important role. That is, she had just had a different energy imprint. She has a different mission. Everyone has a very unique mission. I am more hands-on in the sense that I love to work with cosmology and um, with the human body transmuting, and there are people who are reforming, and there are different types of energy still beyond. We probably will discover them in the coming episodes that we will be making.
Mm-hmm. Yes, there are many to follow
Yes.
with a lot of information. Yes. All right. Thank you, Sabrina.
Thank you very much, Caroline, and I see you next time.
Yes. See you next time.
See you next time.